I want to welcome everyone to our Gateway Center and, of course, the historic old Loveless Hospital. And I think we have a couple of things we want to announce today. And those of you who were part of the sort of initial communications on this, we're going to talk about our emergency shelter, but we're also going to talk about a tremendous, extremely substantial gift that we're getting from Western Skies. So that's what's on the agenda today. There are lots of sort of people here worthy of intros and all sorts of things. I think we really want to focus, frankly, on Western Skies, so we're going to skip some of those, but we do want to acknowledge our senators who are here, Senator Harold Pope and Senator Ortiz-Pino. Harold and I have competing Lobo scarves, and so big game this weekend. But we're going to hear today from our Deputy Director at Family Community Services and one of our key leaders out here, Christina Parajon, and then some from, I think, Western Skies, if they want to share a few words, but if not, that's okay too. So let me go ahead and begin. So look, first and foremost, let's kind of catch us up to where we are here in terms of Albuquerque and homelessness and mental health and behavioral health and everything that happens and is needed in our community. And, you know, it was about, maybe about 3 years ago, voters passed on our bond issue the funding to purchase this facility. And, of course, it was tied up a little bit in some zoning challenges, but now is full speed ahead at the Gateway. And here's the vision. We know that this hospital helped 1,000 people a day when it was running, and that is our goal. We want this to help 1,000 people a day who need it most in our community, especially those experiencing homelessness, mental and behavioral health issues. And this year is a very important year for the Gateway. In 2023, we should reach half capacity. We should be helping at least 500 people a day at this facility. And that's in combination from our initial 50 beds that are going to open probably early summer. That includes our emergency shelter, which is open now. We're going to show that to you. We are taking 50 people off the streets. We can take 50 people off the streets every day here in Albuquerque and have a relief and alternative to our West Side shelter. And so we'll be making available tours of that and video of that shortly, actually. Then later on this summer, we're going to have our sobering center open and then our medical respite center this winter. So in aggregate, with the treatments that's already done here with Turquoise Lodge and Haven and others, these are all things that are happening in the Gateway, not to mention our current headquarters for the Albuquerque Community Safety Department. That is, of course, our third branch of public safety. So again, in 2023, this facility is going to be at least half utilized and helping hundreds of people every single day who need it the most in our city. And so that is tremendous progress. And it's a credit to our team. And of course, we'll really celebrate it when it's actually happening by the end of the year. But today, our sort of 50 emergency beds up and running, and we're very pleased that that's in time for the cold weather, especially that we're going to experience over the winter. Now, we also know that part of this was due to funding from all sorts of different groups, but most recently our federal delegation, about $4 million in total that they've been able to put in. And again, these are funds that will go towards all the other phases to get the other 500 people help every day at the Gateway, more probably in 2024. And so we're trying to finish the funding this year at the legislature with our federal delegation and with our wonderful partners to be able to make sure we get to that 1,000 number in 2024. So with that, though, we want to focus on some wonderful assistance and partnership we are receiving from our private sector partners, Western Sky Community Care. Today, they're sharing with us a $3 million investment in the Gateway Center. That is awesome. So we're going to hear more about that. You know, we've always said that this takes a public-private partnership, and we've had some funding from some of the different organizations associated with PNM and Presbyterian, and we've had some others pitch in here and there, but I got to say $3 million is an incredible investment, and it speaks to the wonderful work that Western Skies does each and every day in our community, and also to our team at the Gateway who's able to put this together for our community. And so this $3 million is essentially, we view it as matching or seed funding from what is going to be a $20 million ask for, again, broader second phase gateway projects that will get us to that 1,000 number that we're putting in with our legislature. So those of you who've been following the news this week, you know that all week we've been announcing our legislative asks. And so once again, we're here today. But we have good news. There's already $3 million in the bank. And so that is because of the wonderful donation from Western Skies. So with more on this, let's hand it over to our Deputy Director of Family and Community Services, Gilbert Ramirez. Gilbert?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gilbert Ramirez. I am the Deputy Director over Behavior Health and Wellness Programs. I'm currently filling in for our Director for Family and Community Services, so it's an honor to talk to you all today. I just want to echo what the Mayor said. Western Skies Community Care has been a standing partner with us when it's come down to anything as small as we needed some cooling towels during the summer to have cooling stations throughout the city. If any of y'all have children and probably utilize the Cruising Back to School event to get some backpacks and school supplies for your children, they were a huge contributor with that. And we worked tirelessly with them to be able to set up shot clinics, vaccination clinics during the pandemic. It just shows these ongoing collaborations and partnerships are vital. We are truly thankful to Western Skies and Team Foundation for the donation. It is hugely helpful. Post-COVID, we know that every system that provides health or social service care has been strained to the very end. All of them were essential workers, and we needed them all to be able to do this work. We're in a time where, unfortunately, so many folks were taxed that we're seeing a little bit of compassion fatigue. But our community needs that compassion now more than ever. And I appreciate the fact that Western Skies has stepped up to say, we're here still alongside you, we are committed to this, and it's not just in a financial means. They're having the conversation with us, boots on the ground, how can we do that? And we appreciate that. I also want to recognize that their lead executive team is here as well, and I know we can't do introductions for everyone, but we appreciate you all coming out, and we appreciate this long-standing partnership. It takes bold leadership to make investments like this. We know there's criticism as to how things can move forward, but we continue to push forward, and that is a highlight of ours. So let me talk to you a little bit about how the investment is going to help. We've taken a very critical look at folks who are not being served by services in our city. And what we do know is that there is a bit of cultural responsiveness that we need to do better at in being able to offer those services. We hope to invest this money to make sure that we're serving those who are most in need. In particular, I want to speak to our urban Native American population in our community that we know from data that our team has collected, about 40% of the unhoused population does identify as Native American. Yet only 20% of them can be documented as actually utilizing shelter services in our city. We're doing something wrong if we're not serving everyone. And we are committed to making sure that we address those barriers. Our team is committed to that, and I'm thankful for them. And Western Skies, I believe, is showing their commitment to us to be able to do this in a different way. And so we appreciate that very, very much. So what are we doing to meet the gaps of services? Well, many of you are hearing around integrated healthcare or integrated services, right? You can't just treat medical issues and not address behavioral health issues. It's a whole person. And when we separate those, we fail the person. We silo that person. This facility will be able to integrate multiple services on one site to lower that barrier and bring that access. We're going to be bringing a medical sobering center here that will be addressing the extremely high amount of folks who inundate our emergency departments, who are already inundated, as you hear in the news, whether it was through COVID or now with our youth with RSV, the flu, and COVID that's still around. And they are taxed. What we want to do is be able to provide quality, intentional medical sobering care. New Mexico does not have a medical sobering center. There are about 40 in the nation. We're going to be the first to bring it to this state. We have an opportunity for folks at the state level to support this and bring the first one here. And if there are others needed throughout the state, let's replicate the model and make sure that it serves those who most need it. People need a safe place to be able to sober. We need to address the issue of overdose in our community. And then we need to follow up with our peer supports and other services to connect them without any barrier into the services they feel they're ready. Whether that's shelter, whether that's medical respite, whether that's behavioral health care with the providers and tenants we already have here, we're having all of those conversations to make sure it's continuity of care. Of course, we couldn't do this without the support of our federal partners who are contributing to this, our county partners who are contributing to this, as well as City Council, who's very invested in this. We appreciate that because we can't do it alone. So that's medical sobering. Now, medical respite. And I know myself, I have the privilege that when I get sick or if I have to have a medical procedure done, I have a place to go and heal, my home. folks who are unhoused unfortunately go back to the street. Their wounds do not heal. They get reinfected. They end up back in the ER. And it's a costly, cyclical cycle that happens in our hospitals daily. Medical respite will allow them a place to be able to come, heal, and not return to those costly systems and not tax those healthcare workers who have already been taxed, and heal correctly and provide that time while we surround them with other supportive services to be able to get them into the other things they need, whether it's housing, shelter, sobriety, behavioral health. This is a push at a very different integrated model, and we're proud to be able to push it forward. And we, again, could not do this without the support of everyone. All right, I can go on and on about our units and what we're doing here, but I do want to pivot over to our Gateway Administrator, Cristina Parajon, who has been chairing this, and I'm sure later for folks who are here will be able to see some of the facility and the progress we made here. Again, my thanks to our partners, Western Sky, Centene Foundation, and all of you at the state level, federal level, and of course here to get this work done. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert. Gateway is about moving people towards housing, and we know that that's a solution to homelessness. These emergency winter beds are about keeping people alive. Next week, outside it's going to be 21 degrees at nighttime. And we want to ensure that we're doing our best with every facility that we have in the city to keep people alive. And so that's why we decided to open these winter beds. As of today, but when we started, we were working really with specific partners who were really doing a lot of the street outreach. Some of those partners were ACS, who does an incredible job and is a real asset for our community in helping people. In addition to First Nations, HopeWorks, our many other partners that also do street outreach with us. And Heading Home as our main partner, who has helped us set up these facilities so quickly and in record time, hiring a full staff in less than 2 weeks. Now, our team was nimble and able to convert this space, and it will likely remain open until April. Until then, we're able to shift upstairs to the Gateway program. There'll be many members who may want to shift upstairs as well. Staffing also ensures that there's no delay when Gateway launches. And I'm really excited to announce that today we're opening that referral process to these emergency winter beds to all our partners. And so our service providers will receive an email today learning how they can submit those referrals. I am also really excited to announce that of our clients so far, we have 19 that are on a waiting list for housing or treatment. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jean, who is the CEO of Western Skies, to talk a little bit about what they're investing with Gateway.
Thank you, Mayor Keller. Thank you, Deputy Director. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. This day doesn't come without a lot of people putting a lot of efforts into this for a lot of time. So I want to thank everyone who's here and everyone who's contributed to making this a success. I'm honored. My name's Jean WILMS, and I'm honored to represent the Western Sky Community Care and Centene Charitable Foundation as we celebrate, and I can't wait to see all the progress that's been made on the tours coming forward. So at Western Sky, our mission is to transform the health of the community one member at a time. And every single day, we do that throughout the state of New Mexico. We do that because the people in New Mexico are our members, but they're also our family and our friends and our neighbors. So it's important for us to work throughout the state of New Mexico and to invest in projects such as the Gateway Project. We're driven by cultura, our philosophy that the strongest connections are built through culture. So every single community in New Mexico has a very unique and very rich culture. So in New Mexico, culture is community. And one of the things as we visited with the Gateway leadership that really aligned us with them was their focus on making sure that they understood in the program development and the services they offered, even in how the facilities were built, to make sure that they were culturally appropriate. So what does Western Sky do? We provide health insurance to Medicaid and Medicare and Be Well New Mexico Marketplace. So why do we care about homelessness? We care because our members who we want to be healthy, but how do you think about your physical health when you're not sure if you have a roof on, or if you don't have a roof over your head, or you're not sure when your next meal is going to come from, or how you're going to take care of basic needs? We care because we know that individuals who may have behavioral health issues or substance abuse problems don't always make the right decisions. And we want to make sure that all of those individuals have access to comprehensive and trauma-informed care so that they can improve. So that's our care coordination team works with our members every single day. What are their specific needs? And it's not just their healthcare needs. It's the whole healthcare needs that includes, are you getting your physicals? Are you taking care of your diabetes? But it also includes their social determinants of health, housing, security, food security, those kinds of things. So on my first trip to Gateway, I have to tell you I was blown away by, first of all, the passion and the compassion, but also about the data that they shared. That 1,300 people every single night in Albuquerque are in a shelter or on the homes. And it's not just an Albuquerque issue. 40-some% of those individuals come from throughout the state of New Mexico. And I was so touched when they shared the overwhelming statistics about the disproportionate number of Native American women who are impacted through homelessness. But you know what? It's not about the data, it's about the people, right? And so I think about, as a mother, the anguish of an individual who's a community leader in Espanola who shared that her daughter is homeless in Albuquerque and she doesn't have any contact with her. And I think about the joy of an individual, a man who is homeless, who is working with Tender Love, a community organization, and we have so many wonderful community organizations here. And they were able to, during the interview, produce his birth certificate, which doesn't seem like a big thing, but for him, that was his ability then to take that birth certificate and get his driver's license. And from his driver's license, he could get a job. And even more important and close to Western Sky is a colleague. And we had an individual who was having performance issues. And as they were working with their supervisor, they shared that they'd had a series of unfortunate things. Life isn't always, good. And she shared that she was living in her car with her 2 children. I just can't imagine trying to work remotely, make sure my children go to school and take care of their needs, and keeping it all together. And this issue is common. And so that's why we are so dedicated that we wanted to work. These are just examples of why we want to work with Gateway and all of the surrounding community organizations and programs to help address this issue. We're providing financial assistance, and that's a great thing. But Western Sky also wants to be actively engaged. We want to be able to help with the resource center and to provide resources. We want to be able to make sure that we work with the programs to make sure individuals have access to comprehensive trauma-informed care. And we look forward to working with the individuals, the city, the programs, and many of the community organizations in the years moving forward. So on behalf of Western Sky Community Care and the Centene Charitable Foundation, I'd like to present this check of $3 million to One Albuquerque Fund.
Gets gathered round.
Exactly.
Yeah, here, scoot on the side so the podium is blocked. Go ahead, snuggle around here, everyone. Nothing says Happy New Year like an awesome check for our,
I think we should do
homeless
Venmo.
community too. Yeah, that's right. We do the new version of this. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you. Absolutely. Wow. Well, put this over here for now.
Class, we will take your questions. Keep it on. it opened up on Wednesday, how many people have they got?
Sure. So remember, at the facility right now, we already have somewhere around 300 people every day. But I think you're specifically asking about the emergency shelter. That one is probably going to be better for Christina.
So last night we had 26 people, and we're really excited to have the capacity to serve up to 60 people. For the shelter? Yeah. For the emergency? Yeah, so the waiting time is about 24 hours. So we try to make that as quickly as possible, processing those referrals. We do make sure that the bed is ready and the linens are there, and we have our incredible partners here. Yeah. Oh,
Nope, that's a separate
okay.
question.
That's a separate question. So when people want housing, they have to be put on they have to be entered into the coordinated entry system, and that's with HMIS, with the Homeless Information Management System. So once people are there, then they're able to access all our vouchers, Section 8, our individual vouchers that we have with our partners, and all that is really important in order to then be able to access housing. So more about that waiting list, we can get you those details of what that's like afterwards.
Christina, do you guys have a rough demographic of the types of people that's in here? Lots of men, women, children, what that might look like?
Yeah, about 60% men and about 30% women. We serve people here 18 and above, and the county has available a hotel for families, and we also have our Wellness 2 hotel that we operate for families.
This may be a question for the mayor, but there was a recent report from the Office of the General Inspector, City Inspector General report about the West Side Shelter and some problems that they found there, mice, bed bugs, maybe a few inoperable showers. And so I just wanted to see how you guys were addressing those moving forward and making sure that if people come here, how are they going to be assured that they feel safe and do not have any of these conditions?
I'll go ahead and address that question. Thank you. I was actually dealing with this yesterday in our response to the report. We received our numerous studies. We had environmental health out there. We went and had the facility looked at. The OIG's report did actually indicate that the showers that were non-functional are in areas where we're not housing anybody. We had the fire hydrants addressed, and there was a report that came out. They were all deemed operable with no remediation needing to be done there. And what we are doing with our contracted partner Heading Home is we meet weekly with them to address any maintenance or facility issues and make sure that those get addressed. If there's an emergency, our team is ready to respond out there. You have to understand that facility, it's an old jail. And it requires a lot of attention to be able to serve folks. This is a first step to be able to transition better care. It's closer and not necessarily a facility like that. However, it's still a vital piece of our network to be able to have folks cared for that are now out in the elements. But we are moving forward. We sent our response yesterday. It should have been published, I think, with the report that came out today. There were no real major findings that were there, but we appreciate that the concerns were brought forward because folks who utilize the facility may have said, hey, we're concerned around this or that. Bed bugs is a huge issue and hard to mitigate. We do have hot boxes out there and treatment and dryers, and we are approving another larger one to be able to do that. And on the tour, even here, if you are going to see some of the facility, you'll see our hot boxes that we have there because they can spread very quickly, and we don't want to remove capacity for beds as that happens.
Have you guys had any folks maybe be hesitant about going to one shelter? Because I know a lot of the times when we've talked to some of the in-house population, they've been hesitant to go to the West Side Shelter. Has there been any of that with this new shelter as well?
I can't necessarily, I think, let me back up just to the social nature of human beings. If you're being told you're going to be taken to a facility you've never seen before, of course you're going to have some caution. Let's layer on a few behavioral health issues where maybe you have anxiety and other issues. It's a place you don't know. You're going to question whether it's safe. However, we went, I think, from like 4 folks to the 26 that attended, and that is going to build the word saying it's a very nice facility. It can meet the needs of folks to at least have shelter at night. Without a doubt, we see reluctance for folks to go to the WEC because if you've ever been out there, it's a good 20+ mile drive outside of town. Imagine getting onto a bus and you keep driving and driving and driving, and you've just lost connection to whatever networks you have here in the city, and that's where you're at. If you have certain needs, and I will address the issue of like substance use and addiction needs. If you're 20 miles outside of town and you go into withdrawal, do you want to be that far away? You put yourself at risk. It's not the total answer for folks who experience various issues. So we're trying to be considerate with adding capacity here as well as there. And there are folks who utilize it. Our numbers are high. They continue to need that support. And so we're building that continuum of care to have multiple options for folks.
Can you tell me a little bit about the transportation for folks when they are brought to the facility here? Is there a certain meeting point? How does that work?
Yes, I might have to pivot over to Christina with regards to those pieces.
Yeah, so this shelter is open in the evening time when it's coldest out, and for that purpose is for helping keep people alive. So the pickup spot is, we have pickup spots in downtown and also here, and then it's from 4:30, and then folks are brought back by 8 to drop off spots where there are meals.
That's 4:30.
4:30 in the PM, yes, and then 8 a.m. Definitely, and that's why we started with our street outreach providers, people who do a lot of that work. Albuquerque Healthcare for the Homeless, First Nations, Hope works with their outreach team, Heading Home Street Connect. And so they're really the people that are talking to individuals. And as Gilbert mentioned, this is really about building a relationship with someone. If you tell someone, hey, do you want to go to this place? You probably won't want to go with them unless you really know them and you trust that they're going to help get you services. And ACS.
So it's by referral only right now?
Yes, this is by referral only to the winter emergency beds.
Walk-ups accepted? at all?
Walk-ups are not accepted.
Can you talk about the $3 million here? We talked a lot about the Native American population in the streets. Is it earmarked specifically for that, or is it just to the gateway in general? And how much has the city spent to date on this project?
So,
I don't have a total number. I can't speak
Yeah.
to 3 million.
yeah, we can get you the number up to date afterwards, but
Right. Yeah, well, without a doubt, these services are costly, and we're working to secure that each program is funded appropriately to be able to move forward. I think the $3 million will allow us some flexibility to focus our intentionality around the cultural care and aspects that we're going to build in the operations of the facility to be able to make sure that, capital is extremely expensive in these days, post-COVID, and then we need operational funding. And as you know, there's an inflation index that happens every year with salaries. We have a shortage in providers, outreach workers, and peer supports. It's costly services. Is it worth it? Yes, in the end. And so we do hope to be able to put that into our operationals for all of our facilities here, whether it's respite, sobering, and or launching the gateway.
So the $3 million will go into services?
Yes, and a combination of a need of a gap in the capital area, depending on how the session goes as well.
Christina, I have another question. You guys mentioned 26 goals you had last night. How much are you guys expecting to have maybe into next week? I know we're only a few days in.
yeah, well, I think it's going to get colder. We had a little preview of the cold weather, and so as things get colder, people look for shelter. So we expect that by next week it will be much more full.
Okay, well, I think, thank you, Christina. I think we'll wrap things up. I do just want to add a couple of things. We have allocated $500,000 for repairs at the west side. I also just want to acknowledge, I think, some folks who haven't lived in Albuquerque that long may not know. I mean, no one likes the west side shelter. We never would have put a shelter out there. That was literally the only facility Albuquerque had when we came into office, and it was only open in the winter and at night. And so we've been trying to do the best we can with that facility until we have things like the Gateway and we have the other shelter efforts that we're working on. Okay, so with that, we do know there's different sort of categories of folks for different tours to look at different things. So how do you want to organize everyone going forward?